insomnia follows you throughout the day. It's like that constant someone poking you on the shoulder all day, reminding you, you have this thing and you're going to experience it again tonight and tomorrow night and the next night. And it takes every experience you have throughout the day, every time, I was trying to be present for my wife or trying to be an active, engaging father, going to sporting events, going to my children's, events at school, or just trying to, play with them in the yard or be here at the house with them, spending time with them. Everything you do is just like painted with this brush of gray. It just takes, that's the only way I could think to describe it whenever I was talking about with my wife is, it's like it takes the color away from everything. All the brightness is gone. It takes all the shine away. Like all day, every happy moment that you have, it's in the back of your mind of, yeah, this is great, but tonight I'm going to go through this all over again. And it's hard to explain it to someone who hasn't experienced that because it never goes away because nighttime's always going to be here.
Mm.
And for me, I've always been a person that I never really fully understood what depression felt like or what anxiety felt like. I could never wrap my head around the idea of what it would take to make someone not want to live anymore or not want to exist anymore, especially whenever they have so many positive things in their life, like I do, having an amazing family. But through dealing with this, I developed what really became crippling anxiety. I was having 20, so there were some days 20 to 30 anxiety attacks a day where I would just at work, I would just have to shut my door to my office and just sit there and just have floods of anxiety attacks for sometimes an hour at a time. Um, my wife would come home and I would just be in the bed in tears, having my 15th, my 20th anxiety attack of the day, not knowing what to do or how to control it or how to stop it. The depression that came was unlike anything I've ever experienced with, right before I started working with you. Um, and it was, and I had to have a really honest conversation with my wife at the time of telling her that, I was like, I'm not saying that I don't want to live anymore, but this is the first time I've understood why that could be a relief and why that can feel like the better option. And it was a very scary thing for me because being a husband and a father is the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. And it's the only thing that's given my life real feeling of fulfillment and happiness. And it was the only time that I've ever sat and thought, I know me not being here, it would be hard on my wife, it would be hard on my kids. But in the long run, I think they would be happier because they could finally, my wife could find someone else who could be a better father to my kids than I can because I'm just too tired to be there. I'm too unhappy to be present. I can't love them the way that I need to because I can't find the energy to even care for myself or to give them the attention that they need. And that was whenever I had reached a point that whenever I first reached out to you, I had that thought in my mind of this is my last shot. If this doesn't fix it, I don't know that it can be fixed. And the only way that I could feel that I could save in my mind now looking back, I realized that this was, not the right way to approach this or think about it. But at the time, it was the only way I can save my family from the person that I'm turning into because of this is to just be gone from their lives.
Yeah.
And and it's something that I've never experienced in my life. But it was seeing the disappointment on my kids' faces every day whenever they wanted their dad to do something with them and I was just too tired. Or the times that of snapping at my wife or being, rude or mean towards her whenever she hadn't done anything wrong because I was just so exhausted and my anxiety was so high that day and I was just dreading the next night ahead of me. And I think that's the hardest thing about insomnia. It's not the sleepiness. The sleepiness is that can be overcome. You can move throughout your day and you can ignore the fact that you're tired, but you can't ignore the fact that it's going to happen again and again and again. And I had reached a point where I was like, if this is the rest of my life, then I don't know that I can go on living the way that I'm living. And that's where I was at whenever I had first reached out to you. And I think I kind of spoke to you a little bit about that of, not trying to put too much on you of, hey, I'm not saying that it's all resting on your shoulders right now, but you're kind of my last hope. But that was the best, you know, discussion I've ever had, was that first step of going down this path, because it was beyond anything that any, self-help, herbal tea, sleep hygiene was going to fix. I had to completely change how I felt about sleep and how I thought about what I was going through.